Imagine it is a Tuesday evening. Just another half an hour to go until you can finally close your laptop and push all thoughts of work out of your head for the next 16 hours. But no, despite having achieved all you want to get done today, you now have to pretend to work for those extra 30 minutes, even though there really is no point in starting anything new now. So you just sit there, silently sulking in the injustice of this wasted time. But work is for 8 hours a day, not a minute less. So you remain tied to your office chair like a prisoner waiting for parole. Okay, so maybe that was a little overdramatic, but I'm sure that many of you can sympathize with the situation. Sure, the home office has made the scenario a lot better, because you just have to make sure that green status on Slack or Teams stays on so you seem active, but that's not the case for everyone, because many people have been made to come back to the office on a regular basis. So why is it that time is the deciding factor of when you are released from your job, and not if all the work that needed to be done that day is actually done? Are you too asking what life would be like if you were paid for your work rather than your time? Well, if so, you're in the right place, because that is exactly what we will talk about today. Welcome to Rebel Economics. We will talk about everything related to economics and business, so work-life obviously plays an important role too. We have talked about topics like the 4-day work week and home office before, looking at the changing ideas of work-life balance in the 21st century. So maybe check out some of those videos after this one. They're linked in the description and in the end of the video. The way the narrative goes when we think about getting paid for work rather than time essentially means that you can have some more flexibility on the time you actually have to be at work based on your ability. If you do your job faster, then you can leave earlier, and in return, when something still needs to be done on a specific day, that you would also do some overtime in favor of the company in order to get the task done. Ideally, this would end up evening out, getting rid of time of work that is wasted. But there is a good reason why this might not be as beneficial for a worker as it might seem. Firstly, it entirely depends on what you work as. This concept is simply impossible in certain sectors. Imagine retail, for example. What if the store worker at the bakery would simply have to sell a certain amount of items and then gets to close shop? That would make the time vary tremendously, and maybe after your own workday, when you want to grab a baguette for dinner, the bakery might already be closed, whereas on other days, the poor seller of baked goods would have to hang around until 10 p.m. just to fill the quota. This would be quite impractical for everyone involved. You would never know the opening hours of the store, and vice versa, the shop clerk would never be able to actually make any plans for the evening. So in some sectors, it can certainly be agreed that working a certain amount of time is necessary. But I'm sure that that is not what you were thinking about. You were thinking of your own office job. Well, even here, it is quite difficult to determine a fixed amount of work to do per day. Most of our jobs vary from day to day, with some tasks that are more labor-intensive and simply take more time, whereas others might be done in a couple of minutes. Unless you have very specific catalog of tasks, with each one having a certain amount of time allocated to them, it might be hard to incorporate this principle. But let's say that this is your case. You have a catalog of about 10 tasks, and they have between 30 minutes to 2 hours dedicated, depending on how difficult they are. So if you as an experienced employee are faster, you get the 8 hours of work done in just 7 hours, you could theoretically go home earlier. That sounds great, and for the company, it likely wouldn't be a bad deal either, since they know that they get the appropriate amount of work done for what they pay you. But this will not be the case for everyone. If the company sets the time per task at an average so that some people are faster and some people are slower, coming out to about 8 hours per person, there will be those that are constantly having to do overtime. If you start new at the company and still have to learn on the job, it might be quite annoying to consistently have to work 9 hours per day when others leave after only 7. This may be demoralizing to newcomers and make them less likely to stay on in the company. Instead, they will move to one that does the traditional paying for time, where they are not penalized for learning. After a few months, they will have caught up and be able to complete tasks in a lot of time, or even quicker, but now they will have to stay the whole 8 hours. So neither the newcomer nor the company paying by work done really wins in this scenario. So really it is only a scheme that benefits experienced workers. In turn though, this would then decrease the average of time needed per task. So either the company is always paying relatively more, or the calculation of time per task will be shifted, once more creating a chasm between those that still benefit versus the ones that no longer do. However, this is just the most extreme example, when it really depends 100% on the work done. Most jobs that implement some form of this tend to work with bonuses. There is a base salary people get, which tends to be on the lower end. But in return, people have the opportunity to make quite a lot of money through bonuses, subsidizing their salary. This is quite common in sales, for example, where for every product or service sold, you get a cut of the profit. This would create some hybrid, where your base salary pays for your time and the bonus pays for your work success. So while you can choose not to work overtime to make a sale, you would likely still have to put in the agreed upon hours. Now, you may say, why even make this video about this topic if I have clearly already made up my mind and don't see any way that this could work? Well, that is not quite the case. I think that oftentimes what people mean nowadays when they say being paid for work rather than time is a certain level of flexibility. The option of leaving earlier one day when everything you set out to do is done, or maybe even if you're having a crappy day and you really don't want to be there anymore and can't force yourself to concentrate for another 45 minutes. And with that part, I 100% agree. And I even think that this is beneficial to both employers and employees. On this channel, we have often talked about the importance of worker satisfaction. And this rings true whether we talk about home office or the 4-day work week, or this, having more flexible working hours. Happy workers are better workers. They are more motivated, more productive, and they will be less likely to leave the company. So, thumbs up all around. Allowing them some flexibility regarding the hours will surely help keep the morale up. Additionally, what employers really want to pay for is productive time. So, if you end up sitting there twiddling your thumbs while staring at the clock, no one wins. If instead, however, you simply leave earlier on one day and then stay longer the next because you still want to finish a report, you will likely spend that time more productively, therefore benefiting both you, who is now happy to put in the overtime, seeing as you were also allowed to leave earlier before, and benefiting the employer, who is paying for time spent productively. Personally, I'm a big fan of this flexibility, and allowing a morning person to start earlier and a night owl to work later can only be a benefit. Having a range of hours where everyone should work to facilitate interaction and making it easier to ask questions and working in groups is a very common practice. This system allows for sufficient structure so that everyone knows when they can reach people, while at the same time allowing enough individual freedoms to adjust the daily schedule to what the worker needs, including the possibility of shifting hours around a bit so you can work more one day and less the other. Thank you so much for watching Rebel Economics. I hope you enjoyed my take on being paid for work instead of time. How do you imagine that this could work? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe. You have a lot more videos on work-life balance, so why not check out our video on the 4-day workweek or working from home. Have a great day and see you next time here in Rebel Economics.